I'm one of those deer hunters. Always on the lookout, trying to find the next trophy. I'm dreaming big sometimes. I've bought and sold many times over the years, but I still tend to keep more than I probably should. It's just the thrill of the hunt. It's an addiction, I guess. Hi, my name is Neil, and this is the story of how I became a tractor addict and what I plan to do about it.
Go, dig, drive, DIY.
The origins of this tractor habit can be traced back to our old lifelong neighbor, Vernie Rupert. The Ruperts lived just a half mile down the road and were like family to us because we were related to them somehow. Vernie retired from farming in the late 60s and by 1971 had given up all of his farm equipment for a brand new, state-of-the-art riding lawnmower, the John Deere 140 garden tractor. It was ahead of its time with a hydrostatic transmission, hydraulic lift abilities, and electric PTO. Vernie could work his garden in the spring, mow grass all summer, vacuum leaves in the fall, and push snow in the winter. He was making all of his neighbors jealous. That John Deere was a way to keep him busy and his pride and joy until his passing in 1994. I wish I had more pictures and video of Vernie with that tractor from back in the day. But hey, at least I got plenty of pictures of it from today. This is Vernie's 140, virtually unchanged since he last used it 30 years ago. Those are still his tools in his homemade toolbox. This tractor is the reason I'm a tractor addict and a fan of John Deere. It has now been in my dad's care longer than it was in Vernie's, but it definitely still feels like we're just borrowing it. Vernie's only daughter still lives at the Rupert homestead. My dad and our family have served as groundskeepers there for over 30 years now. It's hard to imagine the amount of hours and acres accumulated over the span of time in which that tractor has been around that property. Every fall, that 140 still goes home to the Rupert property to pull Vernie's custom-built leaf vacuum. It helps out on other properties in the neighborhood too. But the tractor doesn't have to mow grass anymore. Vernie was a master tinkerer. He built custom implements and used his 140 for everything. Back in the 70s, I imagine Vernie and his 140 must have been very inspiring to a young do-it-yourselfer like my dad. Vernie was his handyman mentor, so Dad was always watching and learning. He liked Vernie's 140 and all it could do so much that it wasn't long before he obviously wanted a 140 of his own. Dad got that 140 in the late 70s, and as you can imagine, at such a young age, that tractor would become a dominant source of influence and inspiration for a kid like me. This 140 is my dad's, and it was an ever-present figure of my childhood. I learned to drive, mow, till the soil, back a trailer, and turn a wrench with this tractor. I think I was on it nearly every day of the summer by the time I was 10 years old. Hey, when you want to grow up to be a farmer but you weren't born into farming, then playing with real garden tractors is the next best thing to playing with toy tractors. We were mowing lots of grass back then, and with 3 boys and only 1 John Deere, Dad recognized the missed potential and soon bought this 317. Used, of course, but new to us, modern and streamlined looking compared to the 140, even though they shared nearly the same undercarriage. We were mowing 4 different yards with 3 John Deere riders. But how do you make a 12-year-old boy that is already hooked on John Deere tractors love them even more? You introduce him to his Uncle Howard's brand new John Deere 318. I can remember the day that Howard walked my dad and I out to his garage and revealed the brand new 318 to us for the very first time. What a machine! It kind of looked like our 317, but after he let me drive it, I knew that it was so much different. My 12-year-old mind was blown with the possibilities. I knew that I must have one, or 10. I'd get to a 318 eventually, but like so many young tractor addicts, I went through an experimental phase as a young man. I bought a Cub Cadet 127 when I first moved into our house. I don't like to talk about it, but I gave it up quickly though and bought a John Deere 300 right before we got married.
Here's Neil planting the first tree. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Here's my garden tractor. I hope to repaint it, fix it up. I knew it still wasn't what I wanted though. And finally, a little over a decade after seeing my uncle's tractor, I bagged my first 318 after a hunting trip to a local John Deere dealership. I spotted it in the back row amongst all the weak and disabled trade-ins. It was rough around the edges, but it was the cheapest 318 I'd found to date at $1,200. I spent all the money I had to bring it home. I've been buying, selling, and collecting tractors ever since. I lost track of the number of 318s I've had. There have been 322s, 317s, even a 420 or two in there. Most of the time I buy with the intention to fix and flip them, but my favorite move is to buy a tractor that's bundled with attachments. Then I can fix up the rest and sell it, or maybe even make a little on the deal. I haven't had any sentimental attachment to any of those tractors other than that first original 318 I bought 5 or 6 years ago. I went to get it out in the springtime and it wouldn't start. I quickly gave up on it and I just jumped on the next available tractor in line. But it's been tucked away in the corner of the shop and hasn't ran since. This 318 is old timer. It was my main lawnmower for over 10 years. I had it before I was married. It helped me make money and it's helped me with many projects over the years. I won't ever get rid of it. If I'm ever going to restore a 318, it will be this one. Currently, I have 2 other running 300 series tractors besides the old timer. This 316 is Brutus. Why Brutus? Because he is an unassuming, muscular brute. After a family friend dropped off this tractor with a bad motor, I squeezed a 25 horsepower Robin engine under the hood, and this has been the most powerful 300 series tractor I've ever been on, and it never disappoints. But using a 316 chassis for this engine wasn't my best of decisions. There's only one set of front hydraulics, it doesn't have independent rear brakes, and it has no power steering like the 318. He's been an incredible worker, but I'm not in love with this tractor. Did I mention that Brutus just happens to be an organ donor too? Lastly, many of you might know Bill. He got his name because he only cost me a $100 bill. As you may have seen in some of my previous videos, Bill here is tired, and he either needs major mechanical surgery or a complete heart transplant. Since the old timer quit running, Bill has been my go-to for fall leaf cleanup and any work that requires a front PTO. Bill has been a good helper, but I'm not overly attached to him either. So in 2015, I upgraded from my 318 loader tractor to this 755 compact tractor. The 55 series compacts are from the same time era as the Onan and Yanmar powered 300s that I love. The larger size, foot-operated hydrostat, optional 4-wheel drive, and Category 1 3-point hitch offer so much more capability than what I had with the 318 loader, and I quickly began to favor using this tractor. I sold 1 or 2 of the 318s, and it wasn't long before I bought a second 755. When an addict finds a good deal, he just can't pass it up. But at some point in their life, an addict must recognize when there is a problem. I don't need so many tractors. I'm running out of room. I'm keeping tractors and parts tractors in unconventional, inconvenient places. I have less time that I want to commit to working on non-running tractors. It's time to start thinning the herd. So the plan is to remove the engine from Brutus and put it in Bill. 2 tractors will become one, and then I'll get rid of the extra carcass. It will be my dedicated grader box and workhorse tractor. Next, I hope to restore the old timer into a fully functional, sharp-looking 318 and give it all the options from all the parts I've collected over the years. A front weight bracket, a suspension seat, 3-point hitch, a rear PTO, all the goodies, and some big fat tires. Looking ahead to the future, I may try to merge the best of both 755s into one machine as well. It seems that one of those tractors sits around 95% of the year unused anyway, so. But that's a long-term goal because I've got plenty to worry about with an upcoming engine swap and hopefully a tractor restoration project. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the story of how I became a tractor addict and the realization that I need to do something about it. Let me know if you're like me. Maybe you're still an addict, or maybe you're in recovery. Hey, some folks have it much worse than me, I'm sure. I hope you'll be here, though, to follow along when it's time to work on these upcoming projects. I got a lot of other projects to work on, too, along the way, so you never know what you're going to see. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Okay, this is Ella's first time driving a tractor. September 23rd, 2017. She just turned 6 years old. She's doing like I did when I was little, and I put my feet down there too. Watch where you're going. Always keep your hands on the wheel. Eva's first time driving the tractor. 6 years old. 9/23/17. She does a lot of steering.